Okay, so welcome everyone officially to the session. Some good sharing there. Hope it was useful. I think there's a lot that comes in the shares that is valuable, even though it's unstructured. So all good. Okay, so let me just get this live stream programmed in. I'll share my screen. Okay, so where are we? All right. So a very simple quote. Anyone want to read that?
Change your thoughts and you change your world. Yep. I wrote this yesterday and it came up today.
Really? Did you? Oh.
Yeah, I literally wrote this yesterday after doing the lesson. Yeah, that was my experience. So that's
yeah. Then it just reflects in your reality. So
yeah.
So interesting. So it's by a guy called Norman Vincent Peale, who was American Protestant clergyman, and he was one of the pioneers of the positive thinking movement in the US. So in the early part of the last century, there was this whole movement towards more positive thinking, and whatever you can think and believe, the power of thought rising, which is really the foundation of what's now the personal growth industry. This whole positive thinking movement. So he's one of the sort of seminal thinkers in that movement, and he's really just stating the simple truth that Yeshua's is trying to teach us in the course. Your thoughts create your perception of the seemingly external world, which is then your reality or world. Okay, so how does that work? If we want to look at just seen it, but I'll go back there. We look at the diagram. You see that you have core belief, you have thought. So he's pointing us this idea of thoughts creating a reality, changing your world, points us quite deep. You're going a couple of levels down beyond emotion, this emotional layer, into thought, and beyond just thought would be core belief. So you're digging into the mind. Because you're going to a more fundamental level, if you start changing things here, then that ripples up and it changes your perception, it changes your behavior as well. So thoughts then create the seeming external reality that you perceive. So think of this, the top layer, as it's like the meeting ground of the internal, the mind, belief, thoughts, and emotion, with the external world, which comes in to your perception as sensory data. So perception is made up of the sensory data that you comes in through your senses, and then the beliefs, thoughts, and emotions that interpret that data and create the meaning that you give to it. And that's what perception is. Does that make sense to you? The meeting of those two. So changing your beliefs and changing your thoughts will obviously influence your perception, which changes your world. Your perception is your world. Perception is under your control. Perception is related to your beliefs, thoughts, and emotions. The sensory data are only one part of perception, but how you interpret them is the major part of perception. So that's why your thoughts change your world. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Because your world is your perceptual world, and that's you perceiving it through a thought system. So the moment you change that thought system, you change your world. That's how easy it is to change the world. So your thoughts create your perception of the seemingly external world. In fact, let's given we're just doing this, ask people to read it. So who wants to read that paragraph? Your thoughts create your perception.
Yeah, I will. Your thoughts create your perception of the seemingly external world, which is then your reality or world. Therefore, when your thoughts about anything change, this changes your perception of it, and it's reality for you, which changes your world.
Okay, so it should be totally obvious, isn't it? But the world doesn't think that way. You don't get taught that. Change your thoughts, change your world. We get taught the opposite. No, we need to go change something external to change the world. When actually it's just an internal shift, which then can lead to changes on the external level. The level of form, dive into integral model briefly. If I change my inner world, the subjective I, thoughts, emotions, the perceptions, then this influences the external, how I behave, my body, the performance outcomes I get. So both aspects are miraculous. I change my thoughts, and then the external world changes as a consequence of that. That's the miracle, and then that reinforces the change. So that process is what he calls the miracle in Course in Miracles. Okay. So the logical sequence of this seems blindingly obvious, yet most people are ignorant of the simple truth. Why is this? Who wants to read the next one? Susie, Elaine.
Where are we? The logic.
Because the external world.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Because the external world seems to dictate what thoughts you think and emotions you feel, something seemingly bad happens to you, and you think fearful or attacking thoughts and feel these emotions in reaction to the situation.
Yeah, does that resonate?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the external world, the illusion that the ego spun in our minds, is that somehow this sensory data that's coming in is causing your reaction. Well, that's the illusion. So it's got nothing to do with you. You're upset because someone said or did something or didn't do something, something happened, and you're reacting to it. But that doesn't acknowledge that you have a belief system, belief, thoughts, and emotion that underlies that reaction. It's actually the true cause of that reaction. It just ascribes causation to the external world. So then the world is out there, and I'm a victim of the world. Things happen, and then I react, and I've got no control over it. But that's not true, because we do have control of our thoughts. What do I believe? What do I think? What do I feel? That's up to me to decide. And that's just the essence of the miraculous process. And any transformation process is about just bringing it back to your own mind, saying, well, I can choose what I want to believe and what I want to think and what I want to feel. I don't have to just react to the external sensory world in the same way. So I have a choice. Okay, so next one, but actually your unconscious mind.
But actually, your unconscious mind that believes in a thought system based on guilt, fear, and attack was responsible for projecting the situation out of your mind, first making it manifest in your experience of the world, and then receiving it through the fearful, angry lens that is the default filter it applies to interpret all your experiences.
Okay, so how does that work? We'll go back to the diagram. From this core belief, this fundamental life operating program that you're trying to identify in exercise 5, you subconsciously program the world. So that goes out via the quantum field. You're not aware of that. And then you tend to attract things that match that belief. But that's unconscious, so you don't know that's happening. So then the things show up You don't realize you've actually caused it through that belief. It seems to be external to you. That's the illusion. And then you react to it as though, well, the cause is here. But actually, true causation is in your own mind at the level of core belief. Right? So it's projected out. That's projection out into the world to then bring you the sensory data. And then you interpret it from that core belief. The same core belief that projected it now as layers of thoughts and emotion, which create a perception of the world that is now apparently based on what's happening externally. But actually, can you see it's a setup? You projected it out. You weren't aware you're doing that. Now the same belief goes and interprets the data, perceives it as real and true, and then you react in the way that belief that projected it out dictates.
Mm.
So it's actually a setup. You've been set up to get upset and to reinforce that program. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So in other words, your ego is setting you up to get upset. Every upset is a setup. So useful to remember that. This happens so regularly that you think it's normal. But what's considered normal in an upside down illusory world is actually insane, truth. Is that really normal? If you start understanding what's going on here, is it normal to have a false belief projected out? Don't realize you're doing that. So you're unconscious of the fact that you're actually creating this. And then you perceive it as real and outside of you and nothing to do with you. That, the external world is doing this to you. But it's a deception. It's just, the whole thing's a self-deception, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Yesh is trying to train us to see. That this whole construct of the ego mind, that which we think of as our life, this world we live in, this reality, this life, is false, based on a false idea that we are a separate self, and we are separate from our source, from love, and the entire construct then is designed to perpetuate that false belief. That's all it's for. This is all just to perpetuate a false self-concept. It's the veil of illusion that we've invented to cover over the truth of who we are. And when you really get that, you go, oh my God, I just suddenly understand my life. I understand the world just so much better. That's what's really going on here. I had this experience after the Vipassana, 9 days of doing Vipassana. It was like so obvious, just dropped in. I was like, yeah, this entire world is a justification. Projection is now a justification for the false belief system that I want to believe and I want to continue believing. So I have to continue then projecting it out and perceiving it as real. And all of this is the veil of illusion that covers over the truth. Right? The world is part of the veil that we've invented to keep all these layers of defense intact, to cover over the truth that we are just pure formless awareness of perfect love and nothing else. And that's the point of the whole dream. It's just to create a defensive system for a false belief that we still choose to believe. So now Yesh is saying, well, we can change our mind. Now you understand this, you can change your mind at the core level, which is a miracle. I don't want to be a false self anymore. I don't want the projection perception. I don't want these illusions. I just want to be as I am. As I was created to be, that's what I am. I choose that now. Okay, so in who wants to read the next one? The common in the recorded discussion, there's a bit of commentary on that, so that would be useful. Who wants to read number in today's first recorded discussion session? The common theme was apparent conflict. Susie, maybe?
In today's first recorded discussion session, the common theme was apparent conflict with other people on the level of form and the stress this was causing, which I explained was perfect in its apparent imperfection and an essential part of the awakening process. because no one ever wakes up when they are in so-called comfort zone where their ego or separate self is in charge.
Okay. Any thoughts on that?
Interesting.
So if we have conflict, it's an opportunity to help us awaken from the inner conflict. All seeming external conflict is just a mirror of inner conflict, which is what this is saying. So the inner conflict is I have a false belief going on. I project that out. I manifest conflict in my life. People seem to be treating me unkindly or unfairly. I seem to be in conflict with them. But actually, it's a mirror of my inner conflict, because I've got this false belief that's in conflict with my true self. So the inner conflict's projected out. Now it seems to be an external one. And then again, I perceive it as real, and that fosters the emotions, thoughts, and beliefs which projected it out in the first place. And that's why conflict seems to be so entrenched in our world, because it's a great device for maintaining this whole belief system. And if you're in conflict, then you must be a separate self. That's what the ego is telling you. But it's all perfect, because if you can see it as just, this is my own projection in the mirror, and it's showing me my own inner split, showing me the inner conflict, then I can become aware through this of the ego and the fight within me. So it's only when we see our subconscious negativity projected out into the world, and this negativity is activated by these apparent projections, we have the opportunity to become aware of it and let it go. You see that? So the people in your life who are mirroring this to you are giving you the perfect opportunity to awaken to the false beliefs that are actually the problem. And that's the reinterpretation of the ego, which will undo it. Okay, let's ask Jackie to read the next one. This is how the ego is undone.
This is how the ego is undone by the Holy Spirit's reinterpretation of projection, which is one of the ego's primary defense mechanisms. The ego has no answer to this reinterpretation except to try and project more of its negativity out of your mind to try and convince you that the negativity is real, which gives the Holy Spirit the opportunity to undo yet another layer of your ego.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it projects out, we see it outside. As we start this process, it defends more. So it's like, okay, we've got to amp up the projections. Things have got to get more intense, because this mind is changing, and we've got to defend against that. So we've got to activate this defensive mechanism, projection perception, to project more of it out, intensify it, really try and convince this person through the external projections that they're real. So that then becomes the reinforcement for the false perceptions, the emotions, the thoughts, and the beliefs underlying them. And so the intensity can go up. It can seem to be quite challenging, because all this stuff is now coming at you. But actually, it's all just showing you that this belief very clearly, and helping you to let it go. So it's all part of the undoing. The Holy Spirit can always reinterpret this projection perception mechanism for you, to help you to let go of the emotions, thoughts, and beliefs of the ego, uncover your true self. And the ego has no answer to that. That's why you ultimately succeed, because the more it defends, the more the Holy Spirit reinterprets it. It's revealing itself to be reinterpreted and undone. So bring it on then. Great. The more the ego does its thing, the more the Holy Spirit has to work with and let it go.
Okay.
The fact that the Holy Spirit can always reinterpret the ego's projections. You read that actually, Jackie. The next one.
Okay. The fact that the Holy Spirit can always reinterpret the ego's projections and the ego has no real answer to this is why you are ultimately guaranteed to succeed in undoing your ego.
Well, do you see that? So if you keep reinterpreting, as we've been trained to do through this course, the ego has no answer to it. Eventually it will be undone because you just keep reinterpreting it. And it knows that. So it's going to try everything it can to try and prevent that. But the more it does that, and it uses this defense mechanism of projection perception, the more you go, well, it's not real. I can let it go. It's just showing me more of my subconscious belief system, which is false. So as it defends, it reveals itself, and the Holy Spirit reinterprets it to undo it. Which is why the Holy Spirit will ultimately win the seeming struggle, and you'll be free.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, is that clear? Let me discuss the timeline of consciousness, which I've shown you before, but just another perspective on the matter. So what we're being asked to do is reinterpret these situations. We've got a life situation. So in your case, divorce, quite messy, quite traumatic, but you're being asked to reinterpret that. As it shows up, you reinterpret, you say, no, this isn't true. None of what happens on the timeline is ultimately true. The thoughts and emotions that the ego is trying to get me to feel, which is my psychological and emotional attachment to the situation and to my separate self, are not true. There's no real source to that. You see, the ego's arrow has no source, does it? It just kind of starts from nowhere. It's a sourceless, causeless thought system. So it has no roots. I can let it go and I can reinterpret this. I can take myself back into this awareness, no matter what seems to be arising. Yeah, and that's the letting go process. So it goes out of there, above the dream, above the battleground. In your question, that's very applicable. So there's no conflict there. There's just peace and certainty. And then from that state, you now reinterpret it, and you look at what's happening on the level of form, but you look at it differently. You look at it from a peaceful, corrected state of mind, which will then inspire different words and actions, which then change the world, change the performance outcomes. That's then changed your reality. So up you go, and down you come. You go there for a while. You come back down. You reinterpret it. You perceive it differently, and because your perception is primary, perception drives behavior and words and actions. Then you've just changed your reality, because you're now going to think and say and do things differently, and that then flows forward differently on the timeline. So you've changed the timeline. He says the time collapse factor can be huge. You can collapse major areas of time on your timeline that you now no longer need. So maybe you don't need another trauma to get it. This is it. You correct the mind, then there's no more traumas which may have been necessary. Those disappear. You just corrected it. So a huge interval of time could be saved. You might save many years of future pain and trauma by doing it now, which is a good incentive to do it, apart from the ultimate escape. But in the dream, you're still seeming to flow forward on the linear timeline. But if you connected to source, and that's guiding you, then that's a pretty flowing, happy experience, and you don't have any of the drama of the separate self. This reinterpretation just eventually undoes these arrows. They would just disappear. So that's no longer there, and that's no longer. They just disappear. And then suddenly it becomes clearer. Look at how clear that looks now. Okay, so one interpretation. What he's trying to train us to do is let go of the ego's interpretation. There's only one thought system that's guiding you, and that's the enlightened state. And then it's home free, the free run back to source, and then finally you lay your body aside. And the game's over. So all of that, you learn this one lesson properly, and all of this, the rest of your life, the ego's interpretation can be gone, and whatever seems to happen, I mean, you may not need to even experience these things. See, that could all disappear. You could just, that trauma is not necessary anymore. Or if it happens, you'll interpret it differently. There won't be the same level of pain and suffering because the ego is not there to interpret it for you.
Okay.
All right. So any comments, questions about that? About the teaching? Today's quote. Otherwise, let's go into the lesson, I think. So there's a good session. Well worth watching it. And there's another bonus recording on the descent into hell on the way home. So if you want a refresher on that, then dive into those recordings. It's also the podcasts that you can download. So if you click on that, there's also meditation. Download just the podcast, then it's on your phone or device, whatever you use, and you can just listen to the audio.
And which podcast are these ones? Yes.
This is the session. So this is a recording of the previous live session we did in October 2019. So you can go listen to that. You download the podcast. There you go.
Mm.
There you go. So you can download that, right click, save audio as, and it's saved to your phone, and then listen, or it's on YouTube. You can just listen on YouTube. So whichever way works for you. But the downloading can work because then you could be driving or walking and it's just playing on your phone.
Mm.
Okay, so that brings us to the lesson today. So who would like to read the lesson and paragraph 1?
So my thoughts are images that I have made.
Mm-hmm.
It is because the thoughts you think appear as images.
Well,
that you do not recognize them as nothing.
okay, does that make sense? Thoughts you think. So we think we're thinking, but we're not really thinking. It's false thought.
Mm-hmm.
Mind-blowing. This is a mind-blowing lesson.
Yeah, that's why I posed.
Yeah, he's questioning the nature of your thoughts and saying,
Yeah.
you think. And so you think you see the images, but actually, is that true?
Yeah, it's what you create, what you make. Yeah. You think them, and so you think you see them. This is how your seeing was made. This is the function you have given your body's eyes. It is not seeing, it is image making. It takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusions.
Okay, so it's a big paragraph, that. Any thoughts on that? What he's really highlighting here is this mechanism I just told you. We've just talked about. So a projection, right? So we project this all out. We invent all of this. We've invented sensors to perceive what we project out. So that now what we project out with our minds into this false world seems to be real, perceived through the physical senses. And so we think these false thoughts, and then we think we see them through the mechanism of perception that has been invented by the same false belief. Okay? So it's a setup. The entire construct is set up by the ego to make us believe that there really is an external world, we really are separate, that all of this is real. So we've been set up to be triggered, to be upset, so that we can experience the false thoughts and emotions, beliefs that, and perpetuate the false beliefs of the ego. And that's all that's going on. That's what the world is for, in the ego's judgment. Just to perpetuate this false self and keep it intact. Okay? This is how your seeing was made. So we have created the false self, the belief in separation, has miscreated the entire world, the projection and the ability to perceive it with our physical senses. That's all part of the setup. That's part of the miscreation. And so we've given our bodies eyes and ears and all our senses the function that they seem to have. This is not seeing. You don't really see what's a delusion. You've made images, projected them out of your mind, and then invented a mechanism to perceive them as real, called perception. And this takes the place of seeing, replacing vision with illusions. So it takes the place of true seeing. Spiritual sight. It's all just a cover over your true awareness. So what's covered over by all of this is the very essence of who you are. Your true self, pure formless awareness of perfect love, is covered over by all of this stuff that you've invented to cover it over. Hence the veil of illusion. You can see that quite nicely in the layers. Each one's a layer or a veil. It covers over the essence of who you are. Okay. So any thoughts on number one? No? Okay, so number two. Let's read number two, this introductory idea.
This introductory idea to the process of image making that you call seeing will not have much meaning for you. You will begin to understand it when you have seen little edges of light around the same familiar objects which you see now. That is the beginning of real vision. You can be certain that real vision will come quickly when this has occurred.
Okay, has anyone seen anything like that, little edges of light around objects?
It happened to me actually Saturday. Sorry, I wanted to say something.
No, go on.
Saturday it happened to me, but it was more like, I don't know what was happening actually. It felt like I was seeing I wasn't seeing. It was kind of like, I don't know, I cannot even find a word to explain it. I cannot find. It was something I haven't experienced before.
Mm-hmm.
I was meeting with Jackie and it happened just before I met with Jackie online, actually.
Okay.
It was like, maybe it was little edges of light around what I was looking at, like trying to see the screen or trying to read some text, and I couldn't actually read the text or see the text because it was covered by lights, or it was covered by something. I don't know what it was. I can't explain it. I can't describe the experience because I've never experienced that. So I don't know if that's what it says here.
Yeah. Sounds like it. You see. So why don't you read number three? As we go along, you may have many light episodes. This will explain it.
As we go along, you may have many light episodes. They may take many different forms, some of them quite unexpected. Do not be afraid of them. They are signs that you are opening your eyes at last. They will not persist. because they merely symbolize true perception and they are not related to knowledge. And these exercises will not reveal knowledge to you, but they will prepare the way to it.
Okay.
But I think Sally wanted to share something as well, actually, but before. But
No, I was just trying to make sense of it, what I'd seen, and if it was what it was talking about. I don't know if it's the same light.
Or any kind of change in visual perception, starting to see light. So light around objects, it's not that hard to see, especially in soft light. You focus beyond the object. You don't focus on the object in the soft light, and you start to see a shimmering. Pretty easy to see, actually, if you've never seen it. Experiment with that.
a shimmering. What is a shimmering?
A shimmering. It's like a there's light on the edges. That's what he's saying.
Oh.
Little edges of light around the same familiar objects. You're starting to open your perception to another dimension, because that light that you're seeing comes from the other world, comes from another dimension. So it's almost like I interpret that as it's not so much that the objects have an energy. People say they have an aura or they have an energy field. It's more like you're seeing beyond the object, right? That little glimmering of light is seeing beyond the form, the one dimension, into another one, which lies beyond that. So the light lies beyond all of it. Right? The light is the ground of being. It's always there. And now the objects have come in and have kind of covered it over. It's like think of a canvas, a painting, right? So you've got the painting going on, and that seems to be the form of this world. It's projected onto the screen of time and space. If you let's use a movie analogy, but the blank screen behind it is shining through, right? So there's a light behind it, and so it's not completely populated. It can't cover over that light completely. When you start opening your eyes, you start seeing the light that's behind it, and that's what's shining then through. Those little edges of light and so are a symbol in the dream of the underlying light, which is the ground of being that's always been there, but you just couldn't see it. Does that make sense?
Is that the same when you look at a person and they are just light? So there's nobody there, just...
Yeah. Yeah. So light experience. So you're seeing beyond the illusion of form. Going beyond, and you're seeing into another dimension. Are you really seeing with your eyes then? No, you're seeing with your mind. That's the truth of the matter.
It's quite exciting.
Yeah.
I thought it was correcting my vision, but it's not. I'm testing now. I still I can see from far, but it's difficult to see the tiny text on the phone, like when it's tiny.
Yeah.
So I was just testing to see if it wasn't like, I don't know, changing my eyesight. But you're right. I think it was beyond the eyesight. I think it's more like the mind opening more than this. Because I couldn't even see what was written. It was like this light was covering the text or whatever was in front of me. It was weird. I could not see with my eyes, but I could see maybe, I don't know. I was kind of freaked out actually by the experience. I was like, what is
we
happening?
See with our minds, see? There are people who can do remote viewing. They can view things with their eyes closed.
That's what I was thinking.
Somebody had that experience. He was doing a lot of spiritual practice, and he said it was weird because I had my eyes closed. I was in meditation, and I saw the room as though I had my eyes open. It was as clear. And he said it freaked him out of it because he's like, my goodness. But actually, that's the truth. You're seeing with your mind. It's all in your mind anyway. And the eyes are seemingly, what's bringing it into you. That's the illusion. But actually, it's all in your mind anyway. So you could access it with your eyes closed. And then, this is about saying, well, you want to go beyond it.
Yes.
You want to get stuck in images. You want to go beyond it to what's beyond it is what we call light.
That's actually the thought that came through my mind when this happened, because I was like, what, I cannot see with my eyes now? Or what am I gonna, how am I gonna see? And it was like just that message actually you just said, with the mind, to see with the mind.
Yeah.
No.
So this is the light episodes, a sign that you're awakening, and that your mind is starting to come more into pure formless awareness, become more and more aware, because pure formless awareness and light are the same thing. It's the ground of being. It's the underlying awareness that underlies all form. And when you see the glimmerings of light or any light episode, you are looking beyond form, looking beyond the illusion of just form to something deeper. Okay, clear on that. I mean, don't get too hung up on these. He just mentions it because he's saying, well, look, this is just a sign of awakening.
Well, I think I might have had this before.
Yeah.
This might have happened actually before, but in a different way or different form. Yeah.
So
like
it's just like a signpost on the journey. Saying, okay, yeah, it's that this can happen. It's a sign that you're awakening. You're heading in the right direction to a state of mind that's beyond the illusions, beyond the misperceptions of form.
Well, it does say that it may take many different forms there. So.
Yeah. So someone's body disappearing into the light, would be a form, a more intense form than, say, just light, little image, little bits of light around the edges.
Oh yeah, this morning was also a strange experience actually. When I did the meditation, I went really deep into that meditation and I felt nothingness actually. I felt like I was guiding the meditation, but it felt like I wasn't in my body anymore. So I don't know. It was a weird experience, like there was nothingness. It was just a voice talking. Just a voice. That was really aware actually.
Yeah. So you can have auditory things as well. People can have, depending on how you wide up. Some people have visions, you can hear voices. It's all signs that things are being changed. The default perception of the ego is being questioned and undone. So it's a sign you're going in the right direction.
I was just allowing my voice to guide, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so any other comments, questions on this? There's just 3 paragraphs of sort of teaching, and then we go into the practice, which I can guide you through. Any thoughts, comments, questions on this? No. Okay, so we'll go into meditation on this. So just making yourself comfortable. Put yourself on mute, sitting comfortably in your favorite meditation posture. If you're sitting on a chair, with your feet shoulder width apart, back straight, cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just clench the sphincter muscle, lock the energy in. Just draw the energy up the spine into your heart center. Just putting one hand on your heart. So you connect with your heart space. Breathing into that. Bringing your attention into the present moment fully by connecting it to the breath and the subtle sensations of the breath. Clench the sphincter muscle to lock the energy in. Feel this energy rising up the spine, warm, tingling wave of energy rising up into your heart center, and then on up into the crown of your head. So just scan your mind. So you're going to look within first, whatever thoughts are there, whatever you're thinking about, say this, whatever it is, name it, object, person, maybe it's a whole situation, is an image that I've made. That, whatever it is an image I've made. So you can also gently open your eyes now and look around, apply it to whatever you see around you, using its name, and then your eyes rest on it as you say, this, whatever is an image that I've made, that, whatever is an image that I've made. Just do it for a few things. It's not necessary to include everything, just randomly, whatever your eyes happen to rest on. And probably want to exhale about now, so just exhale. And have a sense of just letting go of that image. So you blow it all away. Going, gone. Lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest. In peace and stillness for a few moments. So nothing else to do, nowhere else to go. Just resting in this deep peace and stillness. Stillness of your true self and grounded being. Lies beyond another realm, another dimension. Close your eyes again, just sink into that, to that experience. And if light, inner light reveals, then just allow that. It's light episodes, as Yeshua calls in this lesson. They're there to show you that you are awakening. So nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still, and surrender into the light. If any thoughts arise, seemingly disturbing this deep peace, just observe them casually. Breathe in, bring in the light. Imagine golden or white light flowing into every pore of your body, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind. And you recognize that no darkness can exist. You bring in the light, the darkness must disappear. So the light is, it's true, it has a positive quality. The light is true and the darkness is not. So just allow this light in whatever form. Maybe it's just a feeling, you don't see anything. Allow this light to come in and undo all darkness in your mind. At least for the next few minutes. Just open to the light of who you truly are. And let the light overwhelm you. It's all encompassing. So you sink into it and immerse yourself in it and become one that there's no you anymore. The light is you and you are the light. There's no distinction at all. Just surrender to the light completely for the next couple of minutes of deep silence. So just gently coming back from this deep connected state. Maybe for a while there, just disappeared into the light. There's no awareness of the world, body, senses, all that just faded away for a while. That's the case. Just appreciate that. Went into another dimension. Now it's time to come back into the false one, the world of time, space. Just do that gently by noticing your thoughts, noticing your sensations, body sensations, and the breath on the count of 3. When you open your eyes on the count of 3. So 1, just breathing in. Notice the breath flowing in again. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils, stomach rising, chest rising. Pause briefly. And scan your mind. Just noticing any thoughts, anything going on for you. And remind yourself today's lesson that this thought, maybe is a feeling as well, it's thought feeling, thought emotion, is an image that I have made. Self-created image. And I project that out of my mind. I literally go out of my mind. And I project that into the world. And I see all these images in the world. All of which is false. There is no world. There is only the light. So exhale the truth of that. Just blowing away that thought like a dark cloud, leaving you. It's going, gone. It has no power to obscure the light beyond it. This eternal one light. And it's always there. Always with you, guiding you. Through the dream world, to awaken from it. So notice on the count of 2, the weight of your body. Pressing down into the chair, your feet touching the ground. Notice what you're feeling. Your hands touching, maybe the subtle taste in your mouth, smelling your nose, notice that. And notice what you're hearing, surrounding environment. Just noticing all these things from this very still, calm, surrendered state of mind. Without judgment, without interpretation, the ego has no basis. You just allow sense perceptions to come in without the meaning that you give them. This is why we've focused so much on meaning over the last 2 weeks of lessons. And you're undoing the projection perception mechanism of the ego. Cleaning your mind, freeing your mind to just perceive the light. So it is. So it is said, so it is done. So now on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just look around for a minute and we're going to practice the lesson one more time. So repeat the idea to yourself. Say, my thoughts are images that I've made. And then apply it to whatever you see around you. So this, whatever it is, this wall, this chair, this table, this computer is an image that I have made. Right, so we've made it up, we've projected it out and perceiving it as real. is an image that I've made. Do that randomly, casually, no rush, just for, say, half a dozen objects, 5 or 6 objects. Spend a few seconds on each one, then move on. Don't select anything or avoid anything. Just repeat it slowly. This something is an image that I've made. Feel the peace this brings you. Detaches you from all the meaning that you've given to things. It's just an image you've made. And why assign so much meaning to it? So one more time, just to conclude the exercise, say this world is an image that I've made. My thoughts are images that I've made. Thought is an image I've made up, made in the likeness of its maker, which is false. A false idea gives rise to false thoughts, which are false images that are made to take the place of reality. You're just becoming aware of that, so that you can let it go, restore your mind to true reality. So just stay rooted in this deeper reality, this presence, awareness. Be aware of little images of light that might appear. If you want to facilitate seeing that in soft light, go out later when the light is, it's just sort of coming to sunset time, twilight, and look at the horizon or look at an object like a rock or a tree. You can see it on living objects more easily. So sort of in the distance a bit, and you focus beyond it. Don't focus your eyes on that object, just look beyond it, and you should start seeing these images, these little edges of light that he talks about. People call it an aura, but I think we're seeing into another dimension when that happens, starting to open your eyes. So give that a try, and join me a bit later for the evening session where we'll read and discuss, translate and summarize the section text for today, which is called Judgment and the Authority Problem. Talk about judgment, authorship, authority. Yeah, it's not too bad. It's some long paragraphs, some shorter ones. It's 11 paragraphs. So we'll see how quickly we can get that done. See if we can get it done in 3 hours. Okay. So I think that brings us to the end of the afternoon session. Thanks everyone for joining, and I'll see you at 6 p.m. UK time. So that's 7 p.m. your time, Orally, and 8 p.m. South African time. For anyone who's listening in South Africa through to the recording. Okay, so thanks everyone. See you a bit later.
Thank
See
you.
you later.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste.